to SmartFox TV.
Tracy here with national news. In NFL news, defensive back Marlon Humphrey fought back tears and praised his dad after his $98 million extension. His dad was a former NFL player, Bobby Humphrey. A source said that Bobby was never easy on him during his childhood, and he always showed him the right path. Humphrey said, "Things I wanted to do, he was able to tell me no and didn't really give an explanation, but as I grew older, I was able to understand why he did those things. He coached me when I was younger, and he's been everything for me along with my mother." He stated that his dad has always been there for him, and recently someone ordered a pizza on his account, and his dad was looking into his finances and asked him why there were charges for Domino's in Houston. "If I do anything too crazy, he will be on me, probably trying to get me to take it back." He stated that he has a very good support system, so he really thanked him a lot for what he's done, and he hopes one day to have a family and can treat his daughters and sons the way his dad has treated him and his brothers and sisters. In other NFL news, several players currently tested positive for COVID, including starting quarterback Cam Newton. Several games have been pushed back, and fans wondered if the NFL is able to keep this up. Unlike the NFL, the NBA and NHL have successfully stopped the spread of COVID for players using the bubble concept. Let's hope these cases do not affect the whole season. Many fines were implemented on the Raiders team, $50,000, in an investigation found that in failure to wear the facial covering while attending a fundraising hosted by Darren Waller, who was fined $30,000 and $15,000 per player who attended. On Monday, the NFL informed its 32 teams of the new COVID protocol, including the implementation of a video monitoring system and a ban on gatherings outside team facilities. A slew of new policy changes were implemented instantly, and teams will have consequences for not following them. They were also informed in a memo from the commissioner, Roger Goodell, that violations that result in the virus spread and affect adjustments to the schedule or otherwise implementing other teams will result in additional financial and competitive discipline, including the adjustment or loss of a draft choice and even forfeiting of a game. In international news, recently, plant-based meat companies such as Beyond Meat have been growing more mainstream every day. Cell-based meat and meat alternatives are gaining interest with investments. In the first 7 months of 2020, $1.5 billion was invested in alternative proteins. If you're interested in going meatless, you can download the Food Monster app. It has over 15,000 plant-based recipes for better health. That's all for me for international and national news.
And now it's time for a pop quiz. In what year was the Declaration of Independence signed? A. 1773, B. 1777, C. 1772, or D. 1776? Stay tuned for the results. Hi everyone, Kim here. Thank you for joining me for Did You Know? First, did you know that 11% of people are left-handed? Crazy, right? I remember my mom trying to teach my brother how to write the opposite of all of us. She struggled so much until my brother was able to enter grade school. Did you know lemons contain more sugar than strawberries? Now that I did not know. I mean, strawberries taste so sweet. I thought they had so much sugar, but I guess it's not about the taste. Did you know the 3 most common languages in the world are Spanish, English, and Chinese? Maybe being a California native, I'm not that much surprised. I mean, we grew up with Spanish, and Chinese has becoming a very great language in our society these days. And then English, I mean, I guess we kind of all speak it here. So, yeah, I'm not that much surprised. Thanks for tuning in for Did You Know?
Welcome, everyone. It's time for another round of good news. So in our first bit of good news, in New Zealand, the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, has pledged to bring the island nation to 100% renewable energy by 2035, 5 years earlier than initially planned. With this accomplishment, New Zealand will join a short list of nations who have achieved this feat, including Iceland and Paraguay. New Zealand isn't foreign to green policy, however, as the country has shown itself to be on the forefront of green activism. From millions of trees being planted or to the banning of future offshore drilling, New Zealand has really embraced a leadership role for environmentalism. Curiously, during the most recent presidential debate here in the United States, Google reported a massive spike of searches related to moving to New Zealand or emigrating to New Zealand from the United States. Not super surprised based on that debate and all the successes New Zealand has had in the recent years with everything they've done. Good for them and good news. In additional green good news, scientists have created an enzyme that eats plastic bottles at a far faster rate. Combining enzymes produced by certain bacteria, English scientists have created a super enzyme, which can turn normally what would take weeks into hours. For anyone living in California, you have seen the waste created by all these plastic bottles. In the Pacific Ocean, a giant state-sized floating island of trash serves as a harsh reminder to the plastic pollution we suffer from. With these new technologies, though, hopefully the next time you're going on a hike, you're not going to run into a plastic bottle lying on the ground. Or better yet, just minimize the use of disposable plastics in general. Bring your own container. They work wonders, and they will also help the environment. More good news. Over in Italy, for the first time in about 1,200 years, the city of Venice held back the rising tide and subsequent flooding that plagues the city. Venice, a city built on piers in the water, has been flooding at an increasing rate as weather changes have altered local normal cycles. A new defense system, MOSE, consists of 78 flood barriers installed on the seabed at the Venetian Lagoon's 3 entry points. As the high tide begins, these barriers rise and create a dam, effectively protecting the city. This is great news for Venice for obvious reasons. It's also great news for the world, as Venice is a beautiful place that deserves to be protected. Ah, Venice. On the other side of the world in Australia, Tasmanian devils have been reintroduced to the wild after nearly 3,000 years. The Tasmanian devil was wiped out on the mainland after the arrival of dingoes, or a type of wild dog, as well as a contagious form of cancer called devil facial tumor disease. The disease, which is as bad as it sounds, is responsible for killing about 90% of the Tasmanian devil population since the 90s. As of now, there are just 25,000 wild devils left in the wilds of Tasmania, and while only 11 devils now call Australia home, hopefully in the future we'll see a healthy population of Australian Tasmanian devils. Also good news. Lastly, on good news, I guess it's good news. In Britain, a local zoo, a wildlife park, had to remove 2 African gray parrots from the public due to foul language. The 2 parrots, both fairly new to the zoo, have been increasingly verbal, and zookeepers have been afraid of their influence on the other birds. I kid you not, the birds are teaching other birds to swear. That and kids don't particularly enjoy being cursed at by these crazy parrots. So I guess you could say it's good news. It's just funny news to me that parrots would do this, but we're going to end up that way. Good news? I'm Chris Yates, and this has been Good News.
In what year was the Declaration of Independence signed? A. 1773, B. 1777, C. 1772, or D. 1776? If you chose D, 1776, you are correct. The Declaration of Independence was signed on August 2nd, 1776. And thanks for tuning in for another segment of Pop Quiz.
Thanks for watching SmartFox TV. I'm Chris Yates.
I'm Kim.
I'm Sally.
I'm Tracy.
Until next time, stay foxy.
Stay foxy.